In Lesson 612, we'll be working with number stories with fractions and mixed numbers. You'll need your whiteboard marker, and your math journal. Let's go ahead and start with the warm-up. Would you number 1, 2, and 3 on your whiteboard? You're going to use the greater than, less than, or equal to symbol in each of the following questions. You don't need to write the problem down, just write down the symbol. Go ahead, pause your video, and fill in greater than, less than, or equal to.
Number 1, 6/10, 9/10. 6/10 is less than 9/10. Number 2, 55
6/500. In number 3, the tens place has the same number, so we go to the hundredths place. 4 is less than 500, so 34 hundredths is less than 35 hundredths. Go ahead and erase your whiteboard. Number 1 to 3 again. This time you're going to compare 3 new sets of decimals. Pause your video and write in greater than, less than, or equal to. Pause your video. Here we're comparing to the hundredths place. 8 is the same, so I move to the hundredths. 84 hundredths is less than 87 hundredths. In number 2, 44 hundredths, and then on the right-hand side we have 4 tenths. But 4 tenths would be the same as saying 40 hundredths. It's like saying 4 dimes is the same as 40 cents. So now it makes it a little easier to compare. 4 and 4 in the tenths place, 4 and 0. 44 hundredths is greater than 40 hundredths. Number 3, if we look in the tenths place, 3 is less than 4, so 37 hundredths is less than 40 hundredths. Erase, and another set of decimals. Go ahead and pause your video and put in greater than, less than, or equal to. Pause your video now. If we look at the tenths place, 5 is less than 8. So 55 hundredths is less than 8 tenths. I can also put a 0 behind that. Number 2, a 7 in the tenths place. Actually, let me go back. If we look at the ones place, 0 versus 8. Remember, there is no decimal point there, so it's like saying 8 and 0 tenths. So 74 hundredths is less than 8. Number 3, we have a 9 in the tenths place and 8. So 9 tenths is greater than 89 hundredths. And I can put a 0 behind there as well. All right, go ahead and erase your whiteboard. So Liam is choosing between 2 school backpacks. The black one weighs 1 5/8 pounds. The blue one weighs 2 1/8 pounds. Which one weighs more and how much more? So what I know that I'm trying to figure out is difference. What is the difference in the weight between the 2 backpacks? So on your whiteboard, we're going to go ahead and write a number model using an unknown, which will be a variable, a lowercase letter. Remember, I always start when I'm subtracting with the larger number on top or first. So I would say 2 1/8 minus 1 5/8 is going to give me, maybe I put B for backpack. Now what I want you to do is set up the problem so that we can go ahead and subtract. So I'm actually going to write it vertical. Would you please write this problem that you see in green on your whiteboard or sheet of paper? Remember to pause the video as you need more time. All right, can I subtract 5/8 from 1/8? No, I cannot, and we haven't done this for a while. But remember, we're going to borrow from the whole number. We're going to turn that fraction into a fraction that is equal to 1 whole. Notice that the denominator is 8, so our denominator should stay 8. And what do I need to put onto the top, the numerator of the fraction, in order to make that fraction equal to 1 whole? If I put the same number on top, 8/8, that equals the 1 whole that I borrowed from the 2. Now if I add that together with what was already there, 1/8 plus 8/8 is 9/8. Now I can subtract. 9/8 minus 5/8 is 4/8. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So 4/8 would be the same as saying 1/2. So if I said it weighed a 1/2 pound more, that would make more sense than saying 4/8, because that's just typically how we refer to fractions that are equal to a half. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move into our math journal. So if you would open to math journal page 220. Again, if that math journal isn't there, stop the video, go get it, because it's important that you do this so that when you go back to 5th grade, you have practiced this. If you're just watching, you're not going to remember it and understand it nearly as well as if you just do it with me. So at the top, it says Fraction Number Stories, Lesson 612. Write a number model with an unknown to represent each problem, then solve. Number 1. Shamila's full backpack weighs 10 1/4 pounds. Before leaving for school, she added a 1-subject notebook, and now her backpack weighs 11 pounds. How much does the 1-subject notebook weigh? So I'm going to start with the larger or the heavier weight, which would be 11, minus the 10 1/4 that it weighed before she put that notebook in. And I'm going to put N for notebook, but you could put an X, you could put a Z, a C, whatever you want to. Over on the side, I would go ahead and say 11 minus 10 1/4. Now I cannot subtract 1/4 from nothing, so I'm going to borrow from the 11 and make that 10 and turn that fraction, that whole number, into a fraction. So if I write 4/4, 10 4/4 is the same thing as 11. Now I can subtract. 4/4 minus 1/4 is 3/4. So the answer is 3/4 of a pound. Now just a little reminder that there are 16 ounces in a pound. Just something you have to memorize. So our next question says, does the 1-subject notebook weigh more or less than 8 ounces? Well, if I know that 16 ounces equals a pound and I'm looking at 8, which is half of that amount, or half of a pound, okay, does the 1-subject notebook weigh more or less than 8 ounces? Well, we know it weighs 3/4 of a pound. Half of a pound would be 8 ounces, so it would weigh more. And the reason I know is that I know that a half of a pound equals 8 ounces, and 3/4 is more than a half. So therefore it has to be more than 8 ounces. Make sure that you are filling this out in your math journal with me. Let's move to number 2. Carter's empty backpack weighs 1 3/4 pounds. He filled it with 3 2/4 pound science book, a 2/4 pound recorder, a 1/4 pound calculator, and a 1 1/4 pound notebook. How much does the filled backpack weigh? So what I need to do is add together all of those fractions. I'm going to start with the weight of the backpack. So 1 3/4 plus the 3 2/4 pound science book, which is quite heavy, a 2/4 pound recorder, a 1/4 pound calculator, and a 1 1/4 pound notebook. And I'll put W for weighs. how much does the filled backpack weigh? So what I need to do is add together all of these numbers. We would call these mixed numbers if they have a whole number plus a fraction. So watch what I'm going to do. If I take this 2/4 and 2/4, that equals 1 whole. So I'm just going to add that on the bottom. If I take this 3/4 and 1/4, that equals 1 more whole pound. And now it actually becomes quite easy to add. Now let's add together the whole numbers. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 7 pounds, and then are there any fractions left over? Absolutely, I have this 1/4 that I haven't added to anything. So 7 and 1/4 pounds. So just by combining them, instead of trying to add 6 or 3/4 plus 2/4 is 5/4 plus 2/4 is 7/4 plus 1 is 8/4 plus 1 is 9/4, I just combined them to make 1 whole and cross the 2 off that equaled 1 whole. What is the weight in ounces of each item in Carter's backpack? So remember, 16 ounces equals a pound. LB stands for pound. So a science book. Well, a science book is 3 2/4 pounds. So I'm going to start with the 3 pounds. 3 pounds would be 16 ounces plus 16 ounces plus 16 ounces. So if I take 16 times 3 pounds, 6 times 3 is 18, carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. 48 plus 2/4 is the same as a half of a pound, and we know that a half of a pound would be 8 ounces. 48 plus 8 equals 56 ounces. So the science book is 56 ounces. I'm going to erase that just to keep that from confusing me for the next problems. The recorder. The recorder is 2/4, or we would say a half of a pound. So what's half of 16? Half of 16 is 8. The calculator. The calculator is 1/4 of 16 ounces. So here's a little clue. Of means to multiply. So 4 times what would give me 16? Well, 4 times 4 would give me 16. So 4/4 altogether, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 would give me 16. So the calculator is 4 ounces. 1/4 of 16 is 4. And lastly, notebook. The notebook weighs 1 1/4. Well, if I take the 1 pound, I know that's 16 ounces plus, and I just found out that the calculator, 1/4 of 16 is 4, so if I add that onto the 16, I get 20 ounces. Let's do one more problem together. Number 3, Jada's full backpack weighs 9 pounds. Ayla's full backpack weighs 2.5 pounds less than Jada's. How much does Ayla's full backpack weigh? It doesn't say Ayla's backpack weighs 2.5 pounds. It's 2.5 pounds less. So we're going to start with the number model. Jada's is 9, and Ayla's is 2.5 less than. So I'm going to put A for Ayla. Let's do that. So over here, I'm going to take 9 minus 2.5. I cannot subtract half from nothing, so I'm going to borrow from the 9 and make it 8. I'm going to take that whole number I borrowed and make it equal to a fraction that has a denominator of 2. In order to make that one whole, my numerator and denominator need to be the same. So 8 2/2 is the same thing as 9. Now I can subtract. 2/2 minus 1/2 is 1/2. 8 minus 2 is 6. So the answer is 6.5 pounds. C, what is the combined weight of Ayla and Jada's backpack in ounces? Well, first of all, what we need to do is to add together 9 plus 6.5. Together they weigh 15.5 pounds. So let's ignore the half for a minute. Let's take the 15 pounds combined, multiplied by 16 ounces in a pound. Pause your video and tell me what 15 times 16 is. Pause your video and multiply so you get practice with multiplying a 2-digit times a 2-digit. 6 times 5 is 30, carry your 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Put in your placeholder, your happy 0. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 1 is 1. 240 plus, we have to add half of the pound. Half of 16 ounces is 8. So if I add those two together, I get 248 ounces. How do I know? Well, I took 15 pounds times 16 ounces and added a half of a pound, which is the same thing as 8 ounces. All right, that's it for today's lesson.